Good morning, scholars. I wanted to talk to you about dystopian literature and welcome you to this compact 3-week journey, delving into it and my particular focus, which is the use of literature and the value of literacy in dystopian literature. It's reflected at several points, and specifically in the three novels that we will discuss, um, The Canticle for Leibowitz, A Parable of a Sower, and Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 or 451 or 451. Anyway, referring to the flashpoint of paper. Um, Dystopian literature then would be literature that's based in a society that has devolved to the point of chaos, dysfunction, or extreme control by an organizational, governmental, or corporate power. And that's my definition. You will find if you Google it, you'll find 20, 30, 100 others. AI says dystopian refers to an imagined society characterized by extreme oppression, misery, and dehumanization. And all of these things are true. And so, as I go through, excuse me, so as I go through the next 3 weeks, I want you to be looking at the traits of the literature we're reading. How does it fit in to the model of what dystopian literature is, or the characteristics of dystopian literature? And then I suppose I would like you to sort of pull in your own ideas, come up with your own definition of what dystopian literature is. And probably you've read some or watched movies that reflected dystopian societies, but um, there are some traits that are common, and maybe not every dystopian fiction will have these traits, but they will all have some of them, many of them. And so one would be the loss of individualism. And this characteristic is the idea that everyone should be the same. I've seen some dystopian societies portrayed as everyone has the same name, or they just go by their number, and that way nobody tends to be more important than the other, except then even in that society, those with the lower numbers, number one, of course, is the guy in charge. And I don't know, maybe it's always a guy. I haven't thought of the male female aspect of dystopian conformity, which, by the way, is the second trait, conformity, whether it's forced conformity or whether it's just sort of an expectation that you go along to get along, right? That you must conform to the way society sees things. And that's also part of the loss of individualism. And so um, you do what is expected of you by society, and and by society, it means whatever power is in charge, whether it's a corporate power, whether it's a governmental power, or some other organizational power structure that is ruling over the society. And then another characteristic is that power obsession, right? And and as we see with most governments, those who are in power tend to want to stay in power, and and they try to do whatever they can to remain in power. And I think even though I don't think we're a dystopian society. You can see in the redistricting fights between the Democrats and Republicans how those who are in power want to stay in power, those who are not in power want to get into power, and so that's a bilateral struggle right now. And I find it interesting that in Britain, the two-party system has finally broken down, and the Reform Party, it's Labour and Conservative, have been the two main parties for some decades. But the Reform Party gained a, uh, a significant number of local election seats, and probably that portends for the future as well. And so the characteristic that is next on my list, and I didn't put these in any particular order, so don't put any importance on which order I list them in. But the next one is distrust. Okay, and if somebody has individualization, if they do feel that they want to do something outside of the norm, well, they're distrusting of one another, right? Because part of what happens, and I'll get to fear in a minute, but they're afraid of their neighbors. They're afraid of getting turned in, or um, then so they can't trust anyone. Uh, and I actually worked a job one time where when I was going to have a conversation with the woman in the office across the hall from me, she would go and look down the hallway to make sure no one was listening because she was distrustful. And so I often think of that that job, that workplace, as a uh, like a dystopian workplace. Just in maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic when I think that, but it's kind of fun. Um, there's also desensitization. Um, when uh, there's an expectation of punishment for those who don't conform, and for example, in Zemyatin's We, which is an early dystopian novel. It's a Russian novel. Um, they have public hangings, and everybody just kind of has to go and see the execution, and then they go on about their way, go through their day, go through their jobs, uh, and then they get a slip at the end of the day to say who they are, if they put in a request, who they are going to be mated with that night. And so every aspect of their life then was controlled, and that leads us to dehumanization, right? Because then they're not to look at uh, other individuals as individuals, but as a part of the whole. And if you have ever watched Star Trek Next Generation and the episodes with the Borg, right? The Borg is a collective, and they integrate any other species into their computer, and so they're a biomechanical um, um, group, and they all work through. Oh, here we go. And but the head person of the Borg is a woman, and so and she then is seeking Picard to be her counterpart, which of course doesn't work out because it's a TV show. And so then the next characteristic, um, well, I guess I should finish up with dehumanization. Their idea is that everyone will be assimilated into the Borg, and so they'll all be the same. They'll all be one hive mind, right? Uh, and then the next one is fear. Okay, and that goes with the distrust. People are afraid to be different. They might want to be different, but they know that if they get caught doing something individual, doing something that's not prescribed by the powers that be, then they will be punished or executed. Uh, and part of that, excuse me, part of that is because of surveillance. Um, in dystopian societies, very often there is a lot of surveillance cameras, recordings. Even in 1984, the George Orwell example, um, it is something that he said to someone about his greatest fear. He was fearful of rats, had a phobia of rats, and then what they did as his punishment for not conforming to the society was put him in a box and then release rats into the box. And I got to tell you, I saw that movie when I was a kid, and I still think about that scene, and I'm like, ah. Uh, so so surveillance is also a big part, especially in uh, those um, those um, those dystopians that are really an extreme utopia. They try to make a perfect society, but that society then is overwhelmed because people are individuals, and this is usually how it plays out. They either overcome or don't overcome the controlling power. But um, the the thing that they do, the next characteristic is propaganda. Um, they're always fed information or misinformation, as we would call it today, that propagates the the plans of societal control. Um, and so, if say you have a certain way of thinking that society should be thinking, they'll broadcast that either through loudspeakers or on TV screens or some kind of implant, as the board would do. And so in that way, there's a psychological control, right? Because that's always prescribed to be the right thing to do or the good thing or for the good of society. And then there are always restrictions. In Zamyatin's We, as I mentioned, they got a slip of paper that said who they were going to be with that night. In 1984, you know, it was always, oh, I should have covered this with surveillance. It was always Big Brother is watching. That was part of the propaganda. But the fact is they were surveilled to make sure they did not go outside the lines. There's always certain things that they're allowed or not allowed to do, and we'll see this in our our novels as we go forward. Now, there are basically in my head now. If you Google, you'll find about 1,000 different kinds. In fact, maybe not that many. I'm exaggerating, but I did find one list of 40 different kinds of dystopian fictions, and one of them was Mary Poppins. And so I really, in my head, can't see that, but um, each to his own. But it's a wide interpretation of what is dystopian fiction. Now, the three types that I prescribe to. One is post-apocalyptic, right? It can be post-nuclear apocalypse, such as we will see in, and I guess you are already seeing in A Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter Miller. That's our first novel. And what you find there is that, they've been through a nuclear holocaust and they are 800 years down the road. And they're looking, especially this, uh, the uh, the followers of Saint Leibowitz, or as they make him a saint or declare him a saint in the first part of the novel. And by the way, we're going to be focusing. I think I said this in my letter or my email, on the really on the first on part one, homo fiat, which means let there be man, I think. Um, and so you will be looking at that, and and specifically the thing I'm talking about in this novel is how they value literature and literacy, and also, and I'll get to this in more detail in a minute, how they value the library. Now, it could also be an ecological uh, dystopian apocalypse, and you can see that in the novel. It's an Irish novel, The List, by Patricia Ford, and wherein and this I actually considered it for one of our novels in this class, but I've already got one coming of age. And there's something I'm going to take a little aside here. Very often, dystopian literature is coupled with the uh, uh, what is it, Bundesroman? I'm getting the word wrong, but it's coming of age. Um, they're coming of age novels. And so you see this in Hunger Games, uh, and some Divergence, I think, is one. Uh, I haven't read that, but I know it comes up on lists. But Parable of the Sower is also falls into that category. And so, um, but anyway, uh, back to the post-apocalyptic uh, dystopian novels. Uh, it can be an ecological disaster. If you've ever seen the Kevin Costner movie Waterworld, right? They've had an ecological disaster, and so this is the same thing in The List, and the same thing in many other dystopian novels. And so often nuclear disasters and ecological disasters are the catalyst for the rise of the dystopian society. And then a devolved society, one where um, the norms break down. And you can see this if you ever seen the Mel Gibson series, uh, um, Mad Max, right? Society is broken down, and you have these little enclaves that work together, but any outsiders are kind of fair game. And so he shows up as an outsider, and they're like, oh, yeah, let's put him in jail and take all his stuff. Um, so, anyway, that's kind of the devolved society. And you'll see that in Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler next week when we get into it. And then there's the extreme utopia, right? Somebody takes over and wants to do good for the people. They want to make everything right, make everything equal, make everything perfect. But to do that, they have to get rid of all the people that are individuals, or all the people that don't want to conform to the governmental ideas or to the corporate ideas. Um, and this began with a novel called Utopia by Thomas More. And he presents a perfect society, except, um, those who don't want to conform to the perfect society, they kick them out on their own, and, let them go fend for themselves. And so uh, there's always a negative in that. And then you've got We by Zamyatin that I've already talked about. Uh, A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, also rejected from this class because it's kind of another coming of age novel, but really it is certainly a dystopian novel. Society is broken down, and they then the people in power are using these young women so that they can have children because their wives or uh, are unable to, and it gets. I don't know if you've read the book. I haven't seen the series, but it gets pretty strange. 1984 by George Orwell. You've got the hero who is individual and he's in love with this woman, but guess what? He ends up getting caught, and then Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and again you get the trope of you can only have sex with the people who are approved, and will decide that. You don't get to decide that. So don't fall in love because you can't do that. And then Fahrenheit 451, um, and actually this is the a similar uh, a similar trope or way to tell a story or story type as the list, because what has happened in Fahrenheit 451, you find that they decide, hey, people have too much information, they're too smart, so we will get rid of all the books. We will give them screens, these big screens on the wall, and that will pump information to them. And so uh, there's that. And then in the list, the leader of this enclave uh, has decided that communication is the problem, and so he keeps narrowing down the number of words that people are allowed to use. For example, instead of red, green, blue, yellow, they say color, uh, and so um, then everything seems to start taking on an aspect of gray. And um, and so then as we go forward, um, we've got those three different types, and you can look up, really just Google types of dystopian literature and you'll find all kind. But kind of what I'm looking at is the post-apocalyptic, the devolved society, and then the extreme utopia, where uh, good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, as the saying goes. Um, and so, again, I want to point out that I'm going to be focusing on the value of literature and literacy in dystopian literature. Uh, you can focus on any aspect that you would like that is a trait of dystopian literature, or you can follow me and try to find that value of literature and literacy in other dystopian writings. We'll be doing some reading um, from different things, but really, where you see uh, how much they value is how much they're willing to give up for that particular thing, right? Um, for example, so uh, in social exchange theory would indicate that um, people place value on things and or in exchanges, whether it's through behaviors or material. So if I want a candy bar, I value that candy bar, and it costs $1.50, right? I'm going to go, okay, that's how much I value that candy bar. I'm going to pay $1.50 for it. Okay, or um, really, I don't want a candy bar. I want cookies. Except I don't really want cookies. I just want to donate to the Girl Scouts. So I buy a box of cookies for an exorbitant price, right? Because I could go inside Walmart and get a box of cookies for $2, but instead I'm going to pay the $5 or $8 or however much it is and buy that little box of cookies outside. Uh, and so I get to feel good about myself, and I get a box of cookies, and I give up cash for it. Now, not only is cash exchanged, but maybe things or maybe time, right? Um, I have the idea of a circle of friends in mind, right? And this circle of friends, you've got some people that everybody wants to be around. They've got these great personalities. I've got a buddy of mine. I was hanging out at his house last night. He was literally born on the 4th of July. He's red haired, church going, um, all American. He's a police officer, just and the nicest guy. Everybody likes him, right? Um, and so people will give up time to spend time with him. Like, uh, oh, hey, I'm going to build a porch. Can you help me with that? Sure. People jump in and help him with that. Or he's got a big family. They've got 9 kids. I know, 9 kids. Um, but one time somebody just gave him a side of beef and had it butchered for him and put it in the freezer. And so, um, people, uh, because they like him, there's an exchange there. They'll like, oh yeah, I'll do this for you, and I'll spend I'll do this because I want to feel good and I want to spend time with you, and so um, all right, think about a study group. Let's say you have a study group organized in one of your classes, maybe a larger class than this one. We've got 4 people. I had 6 at one point, but I think there was a misconception about how this would count towards their degree plan. In any case, um, there's a study group. And in fact, there are 2 study groups. One is organized by a person that the teacher, when he calls on him, he kind of rambles a lot, and the instructor's scratching their head, going, well, no, that's not quite right. And then re explains whatever the concept is. And then one group is organized by somebody that, when they have discussion in class, the instructor's going, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And the people around are understanding, and even the guy in back who's sitting like this and doesn't want to be in class goes, "Oh yeah, all right." Now, which of those study groups do you want to be in? Right? You value the information that's right and that's going to help you on the test or the paper or the presentation or what have you. And so there's more value in the study group organized by the person that has the approval of the instructor, that is going to be uh, closer to the correct answers when they're discussed, than the one organized by the person who is just almost always wrong. Now, those are extreme examples because the fact is most times people are somewhat right or somewhat wrong, and we all fall, including the instructor, into a middle area between perfect and absolute uh, failure. Right? We're we're all right in here in the gray area. Okay, and so social exchange theory is a good way to look at that, and I'll get into that a little more later. Now, I had planned to talk about a canticle for Leibowitz in this video, but I see we're already running pretty long, and I'm sure that by this point you're yawning, you're bored, you're like, is he still talking? Oh my word! But I will post another one of these for Canticle for Leibowitz, uh, looking specifically at how Miller values uh, literacy and literature in our dystopian societies. And I'll do that using social exchange theory. And I'm going to end it there. If you have questions, please contact me, email me. I'm happy to do a Zoom meeting with you. I will be back in town. I'm traveling right now on Thursday. And so I'd be happy to meet you with you in person if you're around campus. Let me know a couple of days ahead of time and we'll make a time to meet. All right. I think that's it. And in the spirit of my good friend Doug Julian, peace out.